Good morning and welcome to Wild Spirit, Wild August, and I think we've called it Skeletons and Tambourines. Hopefully you'll find out as time goes on what that's all about. We're on the beautiful sunny Eastbourne seafront, and for those of you who've only come to Wild Spirit for the first time, Wild Spirit is an attempt to gather in the open air every month to engage with the natural world and the divine. And we come from all different faith paths and none, and we just want to make sure that everyone is welcome. So if this is your first time, you are so welcome. Anyone who comes to Wild Spirit knows that all we have to agree to are three things, and they are: we're here because we want to be, we recognise where we are, and we're grateful for it. So I'll say it first, and those who want to repeat after me. We are here because we want to be. We recognise where we are. And we're grateful for it.
Little wild one, when you feel judged, measured, rushed, or compared, go out. When you feel a crushing sense of failure, insecurity, or regret, go out. Listen long enough under the sky, and Mother Nature will sing to you of cycles, rhythms, circles, and spirals, of phases, seasons, waves, and slow revolutions. Realign to her pace, and she'll remind you that the seeds we cast in the verdant, shimmering garden of our lives are never wasted.
So with exception to this year because of COVID limitations, this spot here in Eastbourne is where the Llamas Festival normally takes place. As the heat of July breaks into August, Christians, pagans and many others from other areas of England, Ireland and Scotland mark the Feast of Lammas, or Lunasa. It's been long called the Feast of First Fruits. It's now high summer and the union of sun and earth and the first harvest. Lammas is the celebration of first grain, harvest, a time of gathering in the first fruits, giving thanks for the abundance. Underlying this is the knowledge that the bounty and energy of the sun is now beginning to wane. It's a time of change and shift. Active growth is slowing down, and darker days of winter and reflection are beckoning.
Hello, I want to tell you a story about something that happened here on the south coast that not many people know about. Riots involving thousands of people. They call them the skeleton riots because they involved this bunch of lads who were raised up by the brewers and the publicans and some of the town leaders to oppose the newly formed Salvation Army. Now, the Sally Army, as you may know, were all about combating the demon drink and getting people to turn to Jesus. And they had a slogan that was blood and fire, and the Skeleton Army had a slogan that was blood and thunder. The Salvationists talked about soap, soup and salvation, and the Skeleton Army talked about beer, beef and baccy. And you could tell a Skeleton Army member because they had a sunflower in their lapel or a yellow ribbon on their hat or a walking stick with a skull and crossbones on the end. And they were supported by a lot of people. Obviously there's a pirate tradition down on the south coast here, but they were supported by a lot of people who didn't want to give up their drinking and didn't like the message that the Salvation Army were bringing and didn't like them singing in the street. And actually, the law was on their side because members of the Salvation Army down here, when they came down to sing or play, were arrested for doing that in a public place and were given a choice. You either pay £5, which is a hell of a lot of money in the late 1800s, or you go to prison. And so they started to go to prison. And it started to be a big issue until in 1891, I think it was, 30 or so of the people who'd been in prison came out. and 2,000 members of the Salvation Army from all over the south of England came down to march and sing and parade along the seafront at Eastbourne. And they were opposed by the Skeleton Army at the invitation of the Mayor of Eastbourne, who said, I'm not having any of that nonsense that the Salvation Army do in my town. And up to 7,000 members of the Skeleton Army turned up. And what did they do? They threw eggs filled with paint. They shouted, they cursed, they threw rats, they threw rubble. They started to beat people up. The Salvation Army didn't respond, most of them, because it was against their beliefs. Why does any of this matter? Well, because as a result of what happened here, the law was changed to protect the right of people to be themselves out in public, to worship, to sing, to pray, to speak out what they held to be true. And that protected the Salvation Army and allowed it to flourish. But it also, over the years, the decades, the centuries, has also protected people of other faiths and belief systems and traditions and paths. Here, as I understand it, as the Llamas Festival began to grow, a celebration of the pagan moment in the wheel of the year that is the harvest, there was an attempt by the council to stop it, and they asked the police to do something about it. And the police said, no, you can't do that here, not in this town of all towns, where rights were won in the late 1800s. And now, of course, the Llamas Festival is an attraction for this town, a valued part of the calendar when life is normal. So we're thinking about those freedoms that were won, those confrontations that were had, and those decisions that people had to make to decide, okay, what is it that I stand up for, and what am I going to do about it?
So as the grain harvest is gathered in, there's food to feed the community in the present and also through the winter. There's also recognition that within that harvest is the seed of next year's rebirth, regeneration and harvest.
The warmth of the sun's embrace, the gentle breeze swept in by incoming tide, the rhythm of seasons, of new birth, death and recreation.
All these speak so clearly of your love, your power and your beauty.
All are expressions of your creativity and, more importantly, of yourself.
As an artist might share their personality within each brushstroke, so within the myriad colours of a butterfly's wing you share the exuberance of your love.
That we can glimpse you within creation is a beautiful thought, but also tell us that you desire to be seen, to be found and known.
Open our eyes as we walk through this world, feel the wind and sunshine, see the majesty of creation unfolding before our eyes.
Help us to see you, this world, your creation, rolled into a sphere, packaged in sunshine, gift wrapped in love, given to us. Thank you.
For the promise of harvest contained within a seed, we thank you.
For the oak tree within an acorn, the bread within a grain, the apple within a pip, the mystery of nature gift wrapped for us to sow, we thank you.
For creativity in its many forms, we give you thanks. For the skill of weaver, potter, artist, sculptor, needleworker, all who take that which you have given and make with it something of beauty.
For the fruitfulness in its many forms, we give you thanks for selfless love, grace, wisdom, knowledge and sacrifice. All who take that which you have given and make it with something of beauty.
Under the warmth of the summer sun, the world awakens and blossoms into every imaginable colour.
You created a garden for us to enjoy, and within it planted the most magical of flower and trees.
You needed no horticultural training to plan your colour scheme. No gardening expert to recommend variety or design.
Your garden is perfect, its colours harmonious, its scale immense, spoilt only by the clumsiness of those who tend it.
Divine breath who called this world into being, who is discernible within the harmony of nature, the perfection of a butterfly's wing, the grandeur of a mountain range, the soaring eagle and hummingbird. Thank you for this world which you have created.
Thank you for the summer sun, which reminds us that your creative breath is still alive and active.
Thank you for the warmth of your love sustaining this world, your garden.
For summer's passing and harvest home,
We thank you.
For seed that has fallen, the promise of spring.
We
thank
thank
you.
you. Together we say, let it be
bless.
so.
So as we draw Wild Spirit to a close, I want to leave you with two questions. On reflection of what went on with the Salvation Army and the struggle that they had, and having to stand up against oppression, and eventually coming to a place where public worship of all kinds was possible out in the open air, to the reflection of Llamas and its first fruits and what we do with in the future. I want to leave you with two questions. Where's the revolution in your present season? And what are you going to do with the first fruits? What are the first fruits of this season? And what will you take with you into the future? So I'm going to close with a blessing. We bless you, Creator of seed and harvest, and we bless each other, that the beauty of this world and the love that created it might be expressed through all of our lives and be a blessing to others. Amen. Let it be so. So mote it be.